Good one, Blake. You're an asshole.
Jed Wallace is now saying he had life-threatening issues, a heart incident because of the stress of Blake Lively serving him papers.
The hair care line needs to be protected, but Jed's medical information didn't? You can keep stressing him out on something that he's sworn through the court of law that he didn't do.
Hold on to your seats, because we have a wild situation unfolding involving Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Jed Wallace. It all started when Blake, in a desperate attempt to play the victim, leaked Jed's confidential medical information.
If he did something wrong, he should be held liable for it. But if he did nothing wrong, this is terrible for his mental health and physical health, really.
Yes, you heard that right. As a PR manager for Justin Baldoni, Blake's move was not only petty, but downright reckless. If she did something wrong, she should be held accountable. But if she didn't, this could seriously impact her mental and physical health.
He's not allowed to sue and defend himself because I'm a victim, and he's now draining my bills and money and legal costs, and how dare he?
Blake thought it was a brilliant idea to leak Jed Wallace's private medical details. Because, when you're trying to portray yourself as the innocent victim, it's always a smart move to disregard HIPAA protections and reveal that your opponent almost had a heart attack because of you.
Blake Lively just got roasted over the weekend by Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, all while demanding that the court protect her hair care brand?
Great PR strategy, Blake. Truly top-notch. Now, she's claiming that she can't defend herself because she's the victim here, and that Jed is draining her finances with legal costs. How dare he? When people called her out for this behavior, Blake did what she does best, pretended everything was fine and that she was thriving.
When combing through the 800 pages of mess Blake Lively filed in Texas last night, it appears that Jed Wallace's health condition was outed. Now, Jed Wallace had the New York court rightfully redact his private health information.
To save face, she started shoving her Blake Brown Beauty hair care line down everyone's throats with 50% off sales. Because nothing screams I'm innocent like desperate shampoo promotions flooding Instagram. Look at my shiny hair. Ignore the fact that I'm leaking confidential court documents. Bravo, Blake. Truly inspiring.
It's wild. Mr. I Support Victims is trying to silence one, but the law won't let him. Well, here's what Blake Lively's team is declaring. Okay, so many of you are so upset because it's maddening what she's resorting to.
Over the weekend, Blake Lively faced serious backlash from Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, who demanded that the court protect her hair care brand. The timeline of events is priceless. In a New York court, they respected Jed Wallace's privacy and properly redacted his health information. But when Blake filed in Texas, she decided those pesky rules didn't apply to her.
Now, Jed Wallace had the New York court rightfully redact his private health information. But Blake Lively and her attorney said, nah, we don't really care.
This is a sworn affidavit declaring, which as he does, who he is, where he's from Texas, and specifically gets into that he didn't do anything wrong.
Why protect someone's life-threatening heart condition when you can weaponize it for clout? As we comb through the 800 pages of mess Blake filed in Texas, it appears that Jed Wallace's health condition was exposed.
Apparently he has heart problems and there was some sort of cardiac event or cardiac health issue related to the stress surrounding this case. Good one, Blake.
The New York court had rightfully redacted his private health information, but Blake and her attorneys said, nah, we don't really care. Jed Wallace, the man Blake wants everyone to see as the villain, actually suffered a life-threatening heart incident, and Blake's legal actions reportedly triggered a lot of stress for him.
So this is Blake Lively's response to Jed Wallace's lawsuit. Now, some people go, oh, we don't care as much about Jed Wallace because he's not the famous person. We care about Justin Baldoni. But listen, he's got every much of a right to defend himself and fight for his, for his brand and for his reputation.
But why would Blake care? She's too busy bottling fake compassion into overpriced shampoo bottles. Public outrage didn't just spark, it exploded. People were furious that Blake showed more concern for protecting her shampoo ingredients than for a man's literal life. This is a sworn affidavit declaring who Jed is, where he's from, and that he didn't do anything wrong.
It's because she won that order, and now this is confidential, Judge. This is the trade secrets we talked about previously. Give me a break. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's disgusting.
Just to drive home how disgusting this is, the timeline is clear. Blake's Texas filings hit just as Jed's private health struggles were dragged into public view, all because Blake thought it might score her a few points in court. All it did was make her look like the villain she's desperately trying to convince everyone she isn't.
She's already out there declaring confidential requests for anything representing her Blake Brown beauty products. Protective order authorizes third parties such as Blake Brown to petition the court to protective order similar safeguards to the extent that
Jed Wallace has heart problems, and there was a cardiac event related to the stress surrounding this case. Good one, Blake. But if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear Jed's response. Unlike Blake, Jed knows how to handle himself like a professional. He filed a sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury, absolutely demolishing every ridiculous accusation Blake threw at him.
Now using victims to try to get away with it, and then declare confidential declarants for my hair care line. Oh, but I suffered so much damage, so I want to talk about it, but we don't really get to talk about the details. And then completely throwing all these other people under the bus and not protecting their privacy. Make it make sense, people.
Now, some might say, oh, we don't care as much about Jed Wallace because he's not the famous one. We care about Justin Baldoni. But Jed has every right to defend himself and fight for his reputation. First off, Jed makes it crystal clear that he's never even met or interacted with Blake Lively. Not in person, not over email, not through some shadowy digital army hiding behind Reddit posts.
But then as you open up this environment that you declare a safe space, as soon as he says things similar to what you do, USH'd me, and now you are trying to defend yourself, so how dare you to silence victims? It is truly, truly sickening.
All those scary stories, Blake's team loves to whisper about Jed orchestrating a giant sabotage campaign. Pure fiction. Blake's claims about Jed are nonsense. He didn't hire trolls or launch secret attacks. He wasn't plotting the downfall of Blake Brown Beauty. His role was simple. Social media sentiment analysis.
Penalty of law. I never published directly or indirectly any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively. I've never met or interacted with Lively. I do not have a digital army in Los Angeles, New York, or anywhere else. I do not have work with or direct team in Hawaii. I have understanding of what a social combat or social manipulation plan could be.
He was just observing how people reacted online. Passive monitoring, not active attacks. Just observing that people weren't loving Blake's behavior. Blake is already out there declaring confidential requests for anything representing her Blake Brown beauty products. The protective order authorizes third parties, like Blake Brown, to petition the court for protective orders similar to the extent that Jed hits Blake with the line of the year.
That Jed Wallace has been, serious medical issues. Confidential medical information regarding the hospitalization he experienced due to health condition, which was worsened by the stress. This is much more complicated than Blake wants to. She's trying to use this as sort of the, I'm going to stand up for all victims, so you're going to rule in my favor, and therefore all other victims will be protected. And that's what's trying to happen. But as Ron said, no, it's much more complicated. You can watch his full response over there.
I have no knowledge of or desire to harm Miss Lively's reputation. It's hilarious because Blake is doing such an amazing job destroying her own reputation that she doesn't even need help. If anything, Jed deserves a thank you card for not making it worse.
They add Justin and his lawyer, Brian Friedman, are so hell-bent on destroying Blake, they're trying to shed a law meant to protect victims and send a chilling effect to others.
Using victims to try to get away with her actions and then declaring confidentiality for her hair care line? Oh, but I've suffered so much damage. So I want to talk about it, but we don't really get to discuss the details. And then she completely throws other people under the bus without protecting their privacy. Make it make sense, people. The timeline of Jed's involvement is also super important. He was connected with Justin Baldoni's camp between August and November 2020.
As was Brian Friedman, who responded very well, I have to add. This convoluted statement makes it abundantly clear that Miss Lively and team are rattled and once again resorting to making inflammatory remarks to steer focus away from the actual facts.
That's it. Not 10 years of conspiracy, not a long drawn-out war, just a few months of passive observation and media trend analysis. Blake somehow twisted that into a full-blown smear campaign in her head.
That's right. Justin Baldoni, the man who has built his brand on supposedly speaking up for victims, believes that the First Amendment rights of victims of SA and harassment to speak out should give way to the rights of perpetrators to sue their victims into oblivion.
The mental gymnastics deserve a gold medal, honestly. But then, as she opens up this environment that she declares a safe space, as soon as he says things similarly, what does she do? She sheds him. Now she's trying to defend herself. How dare she silence victims?
This is absurd to use that as a way to stand up for all victims. I'm sickened by the lengths she will go to. It's also surprising that Miss Lively and her team are suddenly speaking so passionately about the hard-won rights of the survivor community, considering she sidestepped this topic for the entirety of the film campaign, focusing instead on her hair care and alcohol products, which at the time caused the organic backlash that she received.
It's truly sickening. Everything about Jed's affidavit screams professionalism. No hysteria, no dramatic victim speeches, no shady leaking of private documents. Just a calm, clear, factual explanation completely demolishing Blake's fantasy narrative. If Blake had even a sliver of self-awareness, she'd be embarrassed reading it. And the best part?
Because of her, Blake Brown, it's confidential. Trade secrets. We must protect the confidentiality here of this. What international celebrities are in cahoots with Blake Brown? This is weird. This is absolutely weird. I don't understand it.
All the while, Jed Wallace stands there, calmly saying, "I didn't even touch you." Meanwhile, Blake is throwing legal tantrums, selling conditioner, and leaking private info like it's Black Friday at Walmart. If Blake's goal was to show the world how cruel, careless, and self-centered she could be, congratulations. She's absolutely nailing it.
Let's actually look at your sales. Let's actually open them up. You made this part of the case, Blake. It's in your forms. She refuses to take any accountability for what she actually did do, which was promote her alcohol brand, her hair care brand, instead of focusing on the issues.
Just when you thought Blake couldn't embarrass herself any further, in strides Brian Friedman with a flamethrower. He accused Justin and his lawyer of being hell-bent on destroying Blake, claiming they're trying to undermine a law meant to protect victims and send a chilling effect to others.
7 years I've spent on this hair care line that apparently was destroyed by Justin. Nice try, Blake.
Brian absolutely obliterated Blake's entire house of cards with one of the most savage clapbacks in recent legal memory. He called out Blake and her team for making inflammatory remarks to distract from the facts. Translation: when you have no receipts, scream louder.
So, the hair care line needs to be protected, but Jed's medical information didn't? You can keep stressing him out on something that he's sworn through the court of law that he didn't do.
Brian responded, "This convoluted statement makes it abundantly clear that Miss Lively's team is rattled and once again resorting to making inflammatory remarks to steer focus away from the actual facts." But he wasn't done. He took a beautiful swipe at Blake's sudden fake passion for victim advocacy.
You know, all the international celebrities and trade secrets. No one's looking for the ingredients of your damn shampoo, girl. They want to know what are the sales and what happened. But she's going to try to do these shenanigans because she won that order.
Pointing out how, during the entire film campaign, when she could have actually helped people, she was too busy pushing her hair care and alcohol products. It's also surprising that Miss Lively and her team are suddenly speaking so passionately about the hard-won rights of the survivor community, considering she sidestepped this topic for the entirety of the film campaign, focusing instead on her hair care and alcohol products.
She won that confidentiality order, and I said, and I warned, just as Brian did in that courtroom, this is going to open up to a lot of silliness. A lot of things that Blake's team's going to try to use to make a lot of stuff seem secret, confidential.
Which at the time caused the organic backlash she received. And speaking of her brand, let's get into Blake's hair care shenanigans, because they're the cherry on top of this disaster sundae. While she's out there crying about how her life is ruined, she's also demanding special court protections for her Blake Brown beauty line.
And what's wild is there's now like 800 pages of this response to Jed Wallace. Now, full disclosure, a lot of that is because they're trying to port it over from Texas to New York, and so a lot of it just came into it with the amendments, etc.
Yep, she wants the court to treat her shampoo recipes like national security secrets. Apparently, her list of ingredients is more important than basic human privacy. Blake even dragged international celebrities into it, tossing that in there like a kid lying about having a celebrity cousin.
But you didn't do okay. The movie did okay. You got the backlash for what you chose to do. And that's on you. That's not Justin's fault. I fully believe this. And it's disgusting to see she's still using real victims of SH, real abuse.
Totally believable, Blake. What international celebrities are in cahoots with Blake Brown? This is absolutely weird, and I don't understand it. But here's where it gets even better. At the same time, Blake is screaming that her business was destroyed by evil trolls. She's trying to block financial discovery that would actually prove if her sales took a hit. Let's actually look at your sales. You made this part of the case, Blake. It's in your forms. God forbid the truth comes out that her overpriced conditioner wasn't flying off the shelves in the first place, not because of Reddit comments, but because it was expensive and unnecessary. She refuses to take any accountability for what she actually did, which was promote her alcohol brand and her hair care brand instead of focusing on the issues.
This hair care line, Blake Brown Beauty. Buy one, get a second for only 50% off, guys!
The contradiction couldn't be more hilarious. Publicly, she's out here crying about business destruction, but legally she's fighting tooth and nail to hide her numbers. Which one is it, Blake? Are you a tragic victim or a thriving business mogul? Pick a lane before you crash into yourself. So, the hair care line needs to be protected. But Jed's medical information?
You took over the marketing. Maximum Effort took over the marketing. Sony was just doing whatever you asked because you wouldn't do anything unless you kept getting your demands. And now you're going to blame them and everybody else when that failed.
Not a big deal. You can keep stressing him out over something he swore in court he didn't do. It's hard to even keep up with the spin at this point. On one hand, she wants sympathy because her career and business are supposedly destroyed. On the other hand, she's acting like a thriving beauty CEO, slapping discount stickers on every bottle she can find. It's like watching someone try to cry while cashing a paycheck.
They're going to notice the changing of legal language, the changing of descriptions of what happened.
Embarrassing doesn't even begin to cover it. The truth is, Blake can hide her sales figures all she wants. All the international celebrities and trade secrets, no one's looking for the ingredients of your shampoo, girl. They want to know what the sales are and what happened. But she's going to try to pull these shenanigans because she won that order. She can scream about international celebrity endorsements and confidential trade secrets.
She does not need discovery to find out who smeared her. Just a mirror will do. Oh shit! Oh my God!
But no amount of courtroom gymnastics is going to erase the fact that she nuked her own reputation. And the funniest part, all the smear campaigns she's whining about wouldn't even exist if she hadn't been so determined to humiliate herself every step of the way. She won that confidentiality order, and I warned, just as Brian did in that courtroom, that this is going to open up a lot of silliness. Lots of things Blake's team is going to try to use to make everything seem secret and confidential. Meanwhile, Blake is spinning in circles and burning through forests worth of legal paper, while Jed Wallace calmly stands his ground. He remains the only defendant who had the guts to swear an affidavit under penalty of perjury, saying he did nothing wrong. No dramatic speeches, no publicity stunts, just facts. Compare that to Blake, who seems to think if she just files enough nonsense,